Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your sources, break them down, and pull out the key insights for you. Today we're getting into a really interesting sermon from Pastor Shin at City Center Church. It's called Loving Neighbors with Words and Deeds. And our goal here is to really unpack what genuine kindness and generosity mean, how they're not just feelings, but actions, and how all this ties into, well, our basic human needs and even our faith.
Yeah, Pastor Shin starts with this Korean word, chuk, jabi, and he translates it as, kindness or generosity. But the critical thing he points out is it's not just having a warm feeling inside. He defines it as loving deeds. So actual practical things you do that come from a place of love.
Okay, so like giving your time or money or skills.
Exactly. Giving your time, your resources, using your talents, putting an effort to meet real needs people have. It's about getting practical, not just sentimental.
Right. And then he links this to, was it 4 basic human needs?
That's right. 4 fundamental needs: spiritual, psychological, social or relational, and physical. And here's where it gets really deep, connecting it back from his perspective to the biblical account in Genesis. He suggests these needs, which he believes were originally met perfectly through closeness with God, actually arose because of humanity's disobedience described in Genesis 3.
Huh. Okay, that's a big connection. How does that work? How does one thing lead to all those different kinds of needs?
Well, the way Pastor Shin explains it, the first break was spiritual. Separation from God, who's seen as the source of life itself. He used an analogy like putting the wrong fuel in a car. It might sputter along for a bit, but eventually it just breaks down.
Okay, so that's the spiritual disconnect.
Yeah. And that disconnect, he argues, then affects our inner world. That's the psychological separation. It leads to things like fear, shame, losing your sense of self, maybe feeding into anxiety or depression.
Makes sense. And then the social part.
Then comes the breakdown between people. Adam and Eve hiding, blaming each other in the story. That's relational separation. Conflict, feeling isolated, broken relationships, even on a larger scale, like discrimination or war.
Wow. And the physical.
And finally, even the physical environment was affected, leading to hardship, sickness, natural disasters. Nature becomes something to struggle against, not live in harmony with. He frames all these needs as, fundamentally, the result of trying to be our own gods, basically.
That really paints a picture of, well, human brokenness. So, given all that, how should people of faith respond? Is just talking about spiritual salvation enough?
Well, that's a key point Pastor Shin makes. He points to Jesus' own ministry. He didn't just teach. He healed people who were sick. He fed hungry crowds. He brought people back together. He was meeting all 4 types of needs.
Oh, okay.
And he notes that the Bible talks about different spiritual gifts. Some are word gifts, teaching, sharing the faith. But others are deed gifts like helping, serving, showing mercy. And both are just as important.
So your actions speak volumes.
Exactly. Your practical kindness, that's often how people really see what your faith means.
Yeah, the sermon really drives that home with the passage from 1 John chapter 3. It basically asks, if you have stuff and see someone in need but do nothing, how can God's love be in you?
Right.
It says love needs to be shown not merely with words, but with actions and in truth.
That means actually doing things. Visiting someone who's sick, comforting someone grieving, helping the poor, not just saying thoughts and prayers.
Though prayer is important too, presumably.
Absolutely, but it's about words and deeds. Matthew 25 comes up too. Jesus basically says, when you helped the hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the sick, the prisoner, you are helping me.
How you treat the most vulnerable is how you treat him.
Precisely. Now, it's super important to be clear here. Pastor Shin stresses we're not saved by doing good deeds. Salvation is a gift based on what Christ did.
Right, it's by grace.
It's by grace. But if you've genuinely received that grace, that unearned favor, then kindness and generosity should naturally start flowing out of you. They become the evidence, the proof that the faith is real and transformative.
And there's historical backup for this idea, isn't there, the early church?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the Roman Empire, the early Christians faced incredible persecution, but their numbers just exploded. And even non-Christian observers, like the Emperor Julian, noticed something. He wrote about how Christians cared for everyone in need, not just their own people.
Wow, unlike others at the time.
It was a stark contrast. He pointed to their practical kindness, their actions, and their ethical standards as major reasons people were drawn to them. People saw something different, something compelling in how they lived.
They saw Christ in their actions.
That's the idea. It reminds me of Martin Luther's quote, something like, "We are saved by faith alone, but the faith that saves is never alone."
Ah, that fits perfectly.
It does. And Pastor Shin also mentioned Tim Keller, who said that when you truly grasp God's grace for yourself, this undeserved kindness, it almost forces you to act justly and care for others. If you don't care about the poor or suffering, Keller suggested, maybe you haven't really understood grace yourself. Kindness becomes a natural outflow, a fruit of God's Spirit working in you.
So, connecting all these dots, real faith isn't passive, it's active.
Definitely.
Hmm.
It's not about checking boxes to earn salvation, but about letting that grace change you from the inside out and letting that change be visible.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? As you go through your week, maybe think about how you can show kindness and generosity, not just saying the right things, but actually doing things in truth. How can your practical love for the people around you, whoever they are, maybe show something of Christ's love to the world and perhaps bring a deeper sense of meaning to your own life, too? Definitely something to mull on.